you? Well, certainly, yes. Harry and Meghan's detractors have been calling for them to be stripped of their HRH since they left the royal family over 5 years ago. But those calls seem to be growing louder and from a more widespread community. And I think that's partly because of this interview over the weekend, which has actually backfired spectacularly on Prince Harry. I think people are starting to lose patience and certainly lose interest in his many, many court battles. But also because last week it was revealed that Meghan has been using this HRH in a private capacity. There was a
breaking right now, an astonishing plot by Prince William to finally deal with Prince Harry.
Prince William, he's reportedly furious after it emerged that Meghan Markle is still using her HRH title despite agreeing to drop the title when the Sussexes left royal duties. How is Will planning to deal with this?
Yes, you're absolutely right. I think Meghan Markle has been very brazen recently with the use of the HRH. Now, royal fans will know in 2020, during the negotiations for Harry and Meghan to leave royal duties, it was agreed with Queen Elizabeth.
Scandal, betrayal, and now, royal consequences. Prince Harry is staring down the harshest punishment the monarchy can deliver. And this time, not even Meghan can protect him. Could this be the final chapter in the Sussex saga?
I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point. I would love reconciliation with my family. There's no point in continuing to fight anymore. As I said, life is precious. I don't know.
Once the charming, cheeky redhead of the royal family, Diana's pride and the Queen's golden grandson, Prince Harry is now hanging on by a thread. The man who once represented a fresh, relatable monarchy is getting hit with cold, calculated revenge from the very system that raised him. Parliament isn't playing nice. There's a full-on political push to strip him of the Duke of Sussex title. And that His Royal Highness status, barely hanging on, 1 foot already out the palace door. This isn't some quiet shuffle. It's a full-scale royal takedown, complete with harsh headlines, backroom plotting, and a growing army of voices shouting, "It's about time."
Browser, hasn't he? I actually feel, for the first time, a bit sorry for him. He's so lost.
He's deep down in that burrow, isn't he? It's sort of hard to retrieve yourself out of that.
Well, that interview sparked widespread backlash.
Forget royal niceties. This is pure chaos. The House of Lords has turned into the battlefield for what insiders are now calling the Sussex Strike. A formal petition is picking up serious steam, demanding Harry be stripped of his dukedom. For dragging the royal name through what many see as a media circus. Backed by conservative power players and a wave of public support, it's no longer a matter of if, it's when.
Well, the new poll revealing a majority of Brits want to see Harry stripped of his HRH title. For more, we're joined by royal expert Victoria Arbiter live from Melbourne.
And while Harry might act like he's too laid back in Malibu to be bothered, insiders say this one cuts deep, way deeper than any tabloid hit piece ever has. Why? Because this isn't just political maneuvering, it's personal, the very institution he once stood up for, the family he fought to protect, is now labeling him a royal risk, a walking PR disaster.
I don't remember exact quotes, but I certainly remember the flavour being, oh, we just want to leave all of that royal formality behind. We want to live these simple, authentic lives. So why is that HRH it being used in any capacity?
Well, because I don't think those statements before were all true or authentic,
right.
I have to say, because I think it does mean a lot to them.
Let's be honest. Harry didn't quietly fade from royal life. He launched himself out of Buckingham Palace like a cannonball, Meghan by his side, landing straight into Oprah's primetime spotlight. Since then, it's been a non-stop media blitz. Explosive interviews, a tell-all memoir packed with palace drama, and Netflix specials that spilled more royalty than an entire season of The Crown.
And its relevancy and it's a selling point of their position, who they are, which is members of the royal family.
But I thought the royal family was this terrible thing that needed to be escaped. And
well, what's extraordinary is where are they? They're in America, the great egalitarian country that doesn't respect titles, doesn't use them. Everyone's equal. So to be handing out gifts, like yes, you might be doing it privately, but then address from HRH, the Duchess of Sussex.
And Britain? Absolutely over it. What once looked like bold truth-telling now feels like outright betrayal. Politicians are openly calling him a loose cannon. Palace aides are murmuring behind the scenes, he's torched every bridge he had. Even the fans who once rooted for the rebellious prince have started giving him the side-eye, tired of the Hollywood spotlight he seems to crave.
Therein lies the million-dollar question, Sarah. It's a lovely idea. I think most reasonably minded people would like to see a family reconcile, particularly in the wake of King Charles's health struggles. But at this point, I just don't see how it could happen. Even in the interview, there was one point after Harry had made some really quite startling claims. He even suggested that there are dark forces at play that want history.
Take away the titles, and what do you have? A prince without a palace, no official role, and not even a hint of a homecoming on the horizon. It's the kind of royal downfall that's usually handled behind closed doors. But this time, the firm seems more than happy to let the world watch it all unravel.
Reportedly formulating a plan to finally strip Prince Harry and Meghan Markle of their HRH.
And the worst part? He could be stripped of the one thing keeping him in the royal spotlight, his title. No more Duke of Sussex, no more His Royal Highness, just Harry, stuck in limbo, caught between the royal life he left and the world he's trying to claim.
Is a long-standing precedent, and there's good reason for it. Basically, the HRH is only given to working royals and senior members of the royal family.
Prince Harry didn't merely step back from royal duties, he shook the entire institution to its core. Once the monarchy's charming rebel, he's now become its biggest PR headache. The world looked on, stunned, as the Queen's favorite grandson, transformed from palace sweetheart into a whirlwind of revelations.
A level of I guess, respect in the public, and also it's not a financial thing. Working royals do not profit, they do not use their names to make money. It's an honour to have an HRH.
Absolutely.
So the fact that she's continued to use this HRH when they've been instructed not to, I think is absolutely infuriating.
The trigger for this royal meltdown? Harry's non-stop quest to expose the family that raised him. From dropping explosive truths on Oprah's couch to giving Netflix full access to the Windsor secrets, and then unleashing a memoir that felt more like a royal hit list. Harry hasn't just aired the family's dirty laundry, he's dried it out and put it on full display for the world to stare at.
Source inside, close to the Prince of Wales, who spoke to the Daily Beast, he said that William is furious, unsurprisingly, and he's also already formulating plans to deal with this when he becomes monarch. I think
in Britain, where keeping a stiff upper lip and guarding family secrets are almost sacred, Harry's moves haven't earned him sympathy, they've sparked outrage. The British media brands his actions as unforgivable, and insiders reveal that even royal loyalists who once admired him have silently removed him from their circle.
Is in, poor health at the moment, has other priorities. And I think that Will feels that this has just gotten out of hand and, we need to take a tougher line basically in the family against Harry and Meghan.
It's not just about speaking up, it's about shattering the oldest rule in the royal playbook: loyalty above everything else. Royals don't cry on camera, they don't leak family secrets for streaming deals, and they definitely don't portray their own as cold, ruthless, or scheming. But Harry? He threw those rules straight into the royal fire, watching them burn while holding a champagne glass. The palace stayed tight-lipped, no interviews, no responses, just that signature. Icy royal silence. Yet behind the scenes, that chill quickly turned into a complete freeze-out.
That Charles probably doesn't want to go nuclear. He's always been a little bit too soft, in my humble opinion, when dealing with the fallout of Harry and Meghan's quite obvious breaches of the Sandringham Agreement.
Insiders reveal King Charles took it deeply to heart. To him, Harry didn't just speak out against the crown, he plunged a dagger straight into the family's core. One aide described it as a public betrayal played out in broad daylight. No royal decorum could soften that wound.
Therein lies the million-dollar question, Sarah. It's a lovely idea. I think most reasonably minded people would like to see a family reconcile, particularly in the wake of King Charles's health struggles. But at this point, I just don't see how it could happen. Even in the interview, there was one point after Harry had made some really quite startling claims. He even suggested that there are dark forces at play that want history.
And then there's William, no longer even trying to hide it. The bond between the brothers has shattered, stretched far beyond just physical distance. Rumor has it William is the one quietly pushing to make Harry's exile permanent, stripping titles and duties without mercy. For William, this goes beyond family drama. It's all about protecting the monarchy's reputation.
was, he said he was not prepared to share at this point. And that came across as something of a thinly veiled threat. And I think this is the issue that the royal family have. Anytime they have spoken to Harry, that conversation has ended up on a US news program with a friendly journalist. I just don't think they can trust him, and until they can trust him.
With each Netflix reveal and every chapter dropped in his memoir, Harry's shown he's not interested in a royal reunion. But here's the twist. He still holds tight to those royal titles. And Britain, they're done playing along. You can't set fire to the family legacy and still expect to get a holiday invite.
Yeah, I've always been of the opinion, Dan, that it would probably be actually William who enacts any sort of change. I think Charles in this instance is acting more, you could say, as a father and less like a king. He really needs to actually take the threat of the Sussexes a bit more seriously, because what the Sussexes do...
He's become the monarchy's black sheep, too royal to overlook, yet too defiant to pardon. As Parliament prepares to strike, the family he once cherished is quietly making sure he'll never wield influence behind palace doors again.
If somebody has a royal title, one of the problems with the whole bullying allegations against Meghan Markle in the palace is that there was no recourse for a principal. They couldn't really discipline a principal like they could an employee. And so it's like, well, what do they do? And I think one of the things that should be an option is going, hey, if you're part of this family...
Right at the heart of this royal storm is a fierce petition brewing in the House of Lords, a political bomb aimed squarely at Prince Harry's cherished Duke of Sussex title. The trigger? His controversial BBC interview that stirred up controversy and tempers, combined with his bold but unsuccessful push to have taxpayers cover his personal security costs. The fallout? A tidal wave of outrage washing over both Parliament and the British public.
You probably just need to put yourself on the sidelines for a little bit. But he's also got Meghan, who's rallying the troops behind him on Instagram and showing that support. So that divide just keeps on getting wider.
It certainly does, and also until Harry and Meghan are prepared to take accountability for their own actions.
Once hailed as the nation's golden prince, Harry's image has taken a sharp turn, now viewed less as a victim and more as a walking contradiction. He stepped away from royal duties, but still clings to all the privileges. To many MPs and voters, that's not just out of touch, it's downright galling.
Call yourself a prince and princess. You must be raised and educated, have the UK culture in order to justify having those titles. That way, if somebody decides to leave, they know that walking out the door. But Harry and Meghan, even though she claims to hate everything royal, desperately clings to it. And it's sort of pathetic at this point that they're still using royal monograms and stuff like that. It's like, oh my gosh, guys, you left this 5 years ago. Like, you need to do something else now.
And you claim you hate it too. That's the thing. You claim you hate it.
Poll after poll delivers a harsh verdict. Nearly 2/3 of Britons want Harry and Meghan stripped of their His and Her Royal Highness titles. This isn't just a fleeting rumor or gossip-driven buzz. It's a growing bipartisan movement. From staunch conservatives to left-leaning voters, the consensus is clear. The Sussexes have crossed the royal line, and now it's time to face the consequences.
There was no comment alongside it. She hasn't been with him at any of his court cases. She wasn't with him at the interview for the BBC. She hasn't made any comment on the security issues. It was seen as a show of support.
The message couldn't be clearer. The public is fed up with what they see as royal hypocrisy disguised as rebellion. Harry and Meghan's connection to the monarchy is increasingly seen as an embarrassing, exploitative spectacle that tarnishes the entire royal family's reputation.
Other royal families have those sorts of rules where you have to be educated or live in the country in order to remain on the line of succession.
Oh, fantastic question, Dan. This is definitely the case in Sweden. It's somewhere built into the constitution.
What really grates is their decision to abandon royal duties while still holding on to the prestigious titles and perks. For the taxpayers who foot the bill for the crown's upkeep, that feels like a direct slap in the face. After all, the monarchy is a public institution supported by public funds. And now, the public demands genuine accountability, even from its most high-profile royal rebels.
To be in this bubble where they think that they are the ones that are the victims in all of this and that they are not to blame and that everybody else is against them. And until they're prepared to come to the table and acknowledge the faults that they have or the role that they have played in some of this, nobody is.
The message couldn't be clearer. If you decide to leave the royal family, don't expect to hold on to the crown jewels. Harry's dukedom is under serious threat, and the kingdom shows no signs of relenting. Insiders close to Prince Harry say he's been completely blindsided, hurt, and shaken by the fierce campaign to take away his Duke of Sussex title, a battle he didn't see coming and feels totally unprepared for.
The understanding is that when he becomes monarch, they will be formally stripped of the HRH.
And I'm sure Prince William has a lot of support for that from the public.
Absolutely.
Now, Prince William and Princess Catherine have...
Even after stepping away from royal duties and leaving palace life behind, Harry held on to the hope that his titles would stay with him, a symbolic tether to the family he once cherished. It was proof that he hadn't been completely cut loose, that he still belonged in some way to the Windsor legacy.
Have situations where this has been done, where people have been publicly stripped of their titles. There's a little bit of blowback, but people understand monarchies are all streamlining. This is well within reason for Charles and the family to do this. And I don't think anybody would really be all that upset about it.
Well,
except for Harry and Meghan,
because look, monarchies have to modernize all the time. And what we've got to think about is that the previous rules that...
But now that bridge is crumbling beneath him. The very institution he once hoped to balance on has turned coldly against him, delivering a sting that goes beyond politics. Parliament's formal petition isn't just a political gesture, it's a royal slap in the face, a public declaration that loudly says, "You're no longer welcome here."
I think there's a lot of people that could apologise, but apologies work both ways.
What chances do you reckon, Meghan, of doing that?
Very slim. Slim to none. Let's go with that. Slim to none at this point.
The harsh truth is sinking in. He's no longer simply the spare heir, he's being wiped off the royal records entirely. The man who once strode proudly through palace corridors now confronts a fate even harsher than exile, complete erasure from the family history.
For example, if a royal family was driven out of the country because of a war, but there is now absolutely no rationale why a potential future head of state should be living in America.
Friends close to the Sussexes reveal that Harry sees this intense backlash as a deeply personal vendetta, one driven by his own blood. Prince William, once his closest ally and confidant, is reportedly spearheading the campaign behind the scenes, bitter over Harry's dramatic exit.
Good evening from London. Welcome to Piers Morgan Uncensored. It's almost 4 years now since Harry and Meghan made the groundbreaking announcement. They were quitting the royal family, stepping down as senior royals, moving to the United States and finding...
However, critics say this goes beyond family disputes. It's about facing the consequences. Years of tell-all interviews, public criticism, and Netflix exposés have scorched bridges no royal heir should ever dare to burn. You can't burn down the monarchy and still expect to hold on to the keys. A palace insider reportedly confided to a close friend, Harry knew the rules, and he broke them. Now, he's paying the price.
Plays an important part in our nation's life. I think he's right. And as he also says, the baseless racism claims that are now embroil the King and Princess of Wales, well, they should be the final straw, shouldn't they? The author behind those damning claims, who claims he wasn't the author behind those damning claims, but who else could he have been the author of those damning claims, given it was in the manuscript of his own book?
For Harry, losing the Duke of Sussex title isn't just about losing a fancy name or some ceremonial perks. It's a symbolic final blow to his royal identity. Without those titles, he's just another private citizen, someone who once carried a legacy, but is now being slowly wiped from it. That's a hard reality to swallow for a man who grew up in the spotlight, raised to serve, protect, and represent the crown.
That the Prince of Wales plans to strip Harry and Meghan of their Sussex title when he becomes king.
The pain runs even deeper because this fight is playing out openly, relentlessly, and without any chance for privacy or grace. For the prince who once won hearts with his cheeky charm, this unfolding drama feels less like a disagreement and more like a public shaming. The kingdom isn't just distancing itself from Harry, it's humiliating him right in front of the entire world.
Himself in the web of his own lies.
Yeah, what a series of events, right? And what a frustrating experience for me for a book that was so heavily vetted, legaled, I's dotted, T's crossed, and a book that I was extremely proud of, now completely overshadowed by...
Though a few royal observers hold out hope for a reunion, those close to the situation say the bridge is effectively scorched. The damage cuts too deep, trust is broken beyond fix, and with Parliament's petition gaining momentum alongside growing. public disapproval, Harry's chances of remaining in the royal fold are slipping away fast.
As ruthless, I would argue he's just being sensible. But anyway, they say ruthless Prince William is eagerly awaiting the day he'll be crowned Britain's next king, as he's raring to strip the Duke and Duchess of Sussex of their titles if they ever again publicly rip the royal family, Radar Online can reveal. They quote a courtier who tells the publication, "The king was especially stung by Harry labelling him an emotionally cold father."
For the moment, it looks like the Duke of Sussex title is hanging by a thread, and Harry is forced to confront a harsh reality. The crown he once wore with pride could be taken from him for good.
This series of events that happened.
Yeah, I know you're frustrated, buddy, but
If you thought the fight over Prince Harry's dukedom was intense, just wait until you hear about the storm brewing around the coveted HRH titles. Those His and Her Royal Highness badges that Harry and Meghan promised not to publicly display. Spoiler alert, they've been caught flaunting them, and the palace is far from pleased.
And that was expressly forbidden by the Queen. They were able to keep the HRH, they just weren't supposed to use it. So I think people have sort of reached breaking point when it comes to the Sussex's woe is me narrative.
The latest flashpoint? A seemingly harmless gift basket circulating online, proudly labeled with Meghan's name as HRH, the Duchess of Sussex. Talk about adding insult to injury. For the palace and keen-eyed observers, this was a bold middle finger, a clear violation of the 2020 agreement that promised no more royal titles, no more public displays of royal perks. Instead, it came off like Harry and Meghan were declaring, "We might have stepped away, but we're still calling the Pope shots."
The point we were making before about how Prince Harry wants to reconcile with his father, with his family, but how is that even possible if he keeps airing this dirty laundry for the whole world to see?
If the gift basket scandal wasn't enough, the palace made a quiet but powerful move. They removed the HRH titles from the royal family's official website. No fanfare, no announcements, just a deliberate and silent wipeout that many see, as the opening shot in the final showdown to strip those titles for good. This isn't some small detail. It's a bold royal message saying, "We're done being polite." The vanishing HRH titles mark a clear signal. The crown is gearing up to cut the last symbolic ties with the Sussexes. The gloves are off, and the countdown to a complete title takedown has officially begun.
Nosed William has no such concerns. The insider shared behind the scenes, people are saying that the royals have quietly sanctioned the title removal if Harry and Meghan step out of line again. The removal would require an act of parliament, but those in the know say the palace has already called several secret meetings to discuss the possibility and put an actionable plan in place.
Holding on to their HRH titles isn't just about a name. It's about clinging to status, relevance, and royal privileges that many feel they've already walked away from. But within the cold corridors of Buckingham Palace, this move is seen as audacious, even defiant. Both the palace and an increasing portion of the public view this continued use as yet another provocation, steadily eroding whatever goodwill remains. The HRH controversy goes far beyond letters before a name. It's a fierce battleground where loyalty, power, and royal pride are being fiercely contested. And for Harry and Meghan, the stakes have never been more critical.
An emotionally cold father in his scathing memoir Spare. But the monarch is very concerned about his image and fares backlash from his subjects. That's why he'd never dare take away Harry's Sussex title despite all the hurt he's caused. The courtier revealed Charles, 76, worries he'd be seen as petty if he yanked back the titles granted by his beloved mother.
Prince Harry's royal rebellion goes way beyond a family spat. It's become a full-scale money-making juggernaut that's got Buckingham Palace seething. He's mastered the ultimate power play, transforming his royal roots into a multi-million-dollar media empire. From Netflix hits to Spotify podcasts and blockbuster memoirs, Harry's monetizing palace secrets and family drama like a pro-Hollywood producer.
they claim that they had nothing to do with Omar Scobie's new book. But you might remember Meghan.
Here's the real kicker. Harry keeps cashing in on the royal brand even while throwing serious shade at the very institution that shaped him. How do you slam the crown's flaws but still flaunt your Duke of Sussex title like it's a VIP pass? To the palace and parliament, this is outright shameless. A deep betrayal. Take his raw mental health docuseries or those fiery speeches on social justice. Sure, they're noble causes, but blending royal status with activism? That's a scandal. the establishment just can't swallow.
Absolutely furious that Meghan continues to flaunt the Sussex title for her and Harry's own self-gain. An insider confirmed to Radar Online, when King Charles does pass away, it's a certainty that William will pull the trigger and strip her and Harry of their HRH status.
And then there was Harry stepping right into US politics, urging voters to reject hate during elections. A bold move that shattered the royal tradition of political neutrality. The once modern prince is now playing a risky game of political hot potato, and no one's ready to hand him a royal pardon. What really rubs critics the wrong way? They see his media empire as nothing more than a massive cash grab, a blatant hustle where he cashes in on royal privilege while publicly tearing down the monarchy. This isn't just scandalous, it's a direct slap in the face to centuries of tradition and duty.
Well, the question of whether they should keep their titles, in my view, comes down to this. And it's that if you're going to spark a race row, if you're going to accuse two senior members of our royal family of being racists, and if you're going to then deliberately not say the names for 2 years...
And then there's the public, the very people who fund the monarchy through their taxes. To many, Harry now comes across as a royal freeloader, someone who walked away from his duties but still expects to hold on to the privileges and cash, in on the perks. For millions who once looked up to the People's Prince, this feels like a deeply personal betrayal.
They also report that Harry's in trouble. He misses his family terribly, but no one is speaking to him anymore, which was, of course, reporting which really stunned us earlier in.
Is this really where the royal family stands today? A crown turned into a commodity, with its own heir profiting from scandal after scandal. To some, Harry is a bold trailblazer who shattered tradition. To others, he's a royal opportunist, a Beisenspap double dealer who burned bridges and traded family secrets for fame and fortune. The big question now is, how much longer can the monarchy put up with a prince who's turned royalty into a money-making machine and shows no sign of stopping?
But the way they made it come across in the Oprah interview shows, one, they just have no understanding of tradition, or they have no respect for it. Now that the royal decree has changed.
What unfolds when a royal steps into the political arena like a pro-campaigner? A blazing political firestorm that's putting centuries of royal tradition at risk. Prince Harry, once the crown's golden boy, has sparked a fuse that's winding its way all the way to Parliament. And now, they're gearing up to tear down the gates of the monarchy like never before.
Was racist, tarring them all with the brush. If you're going to do that, and then calmly, as Harry did at the start of this year, suddenly go, oh, we didn't mean to say they were racist. No, this was unconscious bias. That thing when someone isn't racist, but someone says they were thinking it.
Right in the center of this blazing controversy is a clear mission: protect the dignity of the crown before it's tarnished by global activism and Netflix-driven scandals. Parliament isn't just pointing fingers, they're diving deep into history, dusting off the Titles Deprivation Act of 1917. This century-old wartime law, originally created to strip titles from royals who backed enemy forces, now sends a sharp message. If it worked for traitors back then, it could very well be applied to Harry today.
Keep the royal titles that you've been so cynically fleecing for the last 4 years.
But that's just the beginning. Enter the proposed Dignity of the Crown Act, a bold new law aimed at stopping any royal or noble from cashing in on their titles or wading into political battles. And guess who's right in the spotlight? Prince Harry, the self-exiled Duke-turned-activist, whose dive into US politics has ruffled feathers in Westminster and beyond. From urging Americans to reject hate at the polls to signaling which candidates match his views, he's thrown himself into causes dripping with political charge. Admirable to some, but for a British royal, it's a blazing red flag.
Children, Zara Tindall and Peter Phillips, weren't entitled to use the title Prince and Princess because at the time, only male members of the royal family could pass down their titles.
For many MPs, this isn't just a matter of opinion, it's about survival. The monarchy has thrived for centuries on a fragile balance of silence and political neutrality. Once that mask slips, what's to stop a Windsor from becoming just? Another power-hungry politician? That's the nightmare scenario lawmakers in Britain are racing to prevent.
couple who put out after the birth of their first child, Prince Archie, that he wouldn't have a title. They told sources close to them, such as their friend Omid Scobie, they said, no, we don't want titles, that sort of thing. But then they complained in that Oprah Winfrey interview about...
Critics in Parliament are now labeling Harry a rogue player, someone who broke the rules, shattered the royal code of silence, and attempted to weaponize his royal blood for political gain. They're demanding accountability. As one insider put it, this isn't just about one prince, it's about setting a firm boundary. If royal titles become tools for activism today, they'll become instruments of influence tomorrow. That's not monarchy, that's chaos.
By doing this, the Bob Seeley idea, I think it just makes them into victims, gives them even more publicity. There they are over all the world's headlines again as people, there must be some truth surely in what they're...
And the public? They're watching the whole drama unfold, popcorn in hand. Some view Harry as a bold freedom fighter, unafraid to challenge the system. Others see him as a runaway royal, using his birthright to craft a new global persona while dragging the monarchy into a circus it never asked for.
Well, they've deliberately not said anything about this because we are, I think we discussed on the programme before, in the whole era of just let's not poke the bear and let's just, try and have a period of peace. I have spoken to people who were around at the time when the whole Sandringham summit took place, and I think it's fair to say
now, with new laws being proposed and century-old royal rules resurfacing like ghosts from the past, the question isn't if, but how soon this will hit Prince Harry. This firestorm isn't dying down, it's only gaining momentum. And Harry might be the first to feel the full burn of a crown set on fire. Don't be fooled by the polished smiles and the cold, gilded silence. Behind Buckingham Palace's usual no comment lies a high-stakes chess game, and at the heart of it stands a future king with a score to settle.
Very damaged people.
As the world watches Prince Harry play the rebel prince under the spotlight, Prince William, his once close brother, is reportedly leading a quiet but ruthless campaign. Insider sources suggest William is spearheading an internal mission to do what the Queen never dared and what King Charles has so far hesitated to complete, cutting the Sussexes loose from the crown once and for all.
And turn their noses up at tradition and even the notion of hereditary privilege itself, Meghan and Harry apparently always wanted their children to carry the titles of princess and prince. That has now happened.
His opening strike has already landed. The discreet removal of the HRH titles from the official royal website may have looked like a simple administrative change to many, but to those familiar with royal affairs, it was a clear message, a silent sword drawn behind the scenes. No fanfare, no public announcement, just a deliberate, methodical erasure of Harry and Meghan from the royal family's official narrative.
Family are eligible to be in the line of succession, but also female members of the royal family are also eligible to pass down their title.
But William's push goes further. Sources reveal he's applying pressure on senior courtiers, key parliament figures, and even his own father to tighten the grip on what many now view as a renegade duo, two who leveraged royal status to catapult into global fame, only to turn their backs and strike at the very institution that raised them.
And on one hand, I get it, but on the other hand, God, it's a bit rich, isn't it?
I mean, it's very rich, and most people can't help but think that they did this for money. Of course, the couple will dispute that,
And the final move? It's being saved for his coronation. Rumors swirling through the palace suggest that King William's very first official act could be to completely strip Harry and Meghan of all remaining titles. Duke, Duchess, the entire. Sussex legacy, no more loopholes, no more hidden HR initials, just a clean, decisive break.
Damaging to the royal family and the monarchy. They've taken hundreds of millions of dollars to do it. It is unprecedented in history for two renegade royals to go off and enrich themselves, making money out of targeting the royal family, isn't it? We've never seen this before.
To William, this isn't about family drama anymore. It's about preserving the institution. As the future king, he's determined to bring back dignity, control, and a strong sense of duty to a monarchy increasingly mired in scandal. And if that means wielding a broadsword against his own brother's borrowed spotlight, so be it. Meanwhile, as Parliament stirs with demands to strip Harry and Meghan of their titles, and the palace quietly plots its revenge, mainstream media has barely raised a fuss. No explosive headlines, No breaking news alerts, just a few lukewarm editorials and buried mentions, lost under the usual celebrity gossip and tabloid noise.
From Meghan Markle's latest break with royal protocol, will William start to take a stronger line with his brother, and why are some people thinking Prince Andrew?
The silence isn't random, it's strategic. Many believe the media's soft approach isn't about staying neutral, but about protecting profits. The Sussex brand is a media jackpot, from blockbuster documentaries to viral interviews. And the very outlets that helped build their image are now too invested to speak out. Criticizing Harry and Meghan means risking access, views, and millions in revenue.
Want of a better way, a gentleman's agreement, that they would not be using their HRHs for commercial purposes. Now, obviously the Sussexes have immediately hit back and said, well, she's not using this for commercial purposes. This was, a gift basket to a close friend of hers. I think it's something she never expected to be made.
And yet, others believe the hush has royal fingerprints all over it. A page torn straight from Buckingham Palace's age-old playbook. The monarchy has always favored silence over spectacle, letting mystery do the heavy lifting. When scandals erupt, they retreat behind gilded walls, not with inaction, but with calculated restraint. Insiders whisper that while the press remains publicly muted, palace forces are quietly pulling strings, shaping coverage, nudging narratives, and allowing speculation to spiral unchecked. But not everyone's convinced. To some, this isn't quiet dignity, it's strategic manipulation wrapped in tradition.
But obviously it sparked a lot of questions about why even in private she's using that full title, Her Royal Highness, just in correspondence with friends. It's really quite extraordinary.
But I have to say though, I mean, the reason we know about it is because it's featured in the podcast. Why is Meghan doing this podcast? To promote her lifestyle brand.
With public petitions gaining steam, political debates heating up, and royal tensions reaching a boiling point, the media's silence is starting to look less like caution and more like complicity. Is this responsible journalism or cowardice? Dressed as professionalism, some argue the Sussex brand has grown too powerful, too deeply tied to corporate deals and celebrity clout to be challenged. When even the press won't touch what many see as the biggest royal scandal in a generation, the real question shifts. It's no longer what's happening, it's what are they afraid of?
Meghan herself posted on Instagram a message she had received which was addressed to Your Royal Highness. So she wasn't embarrassed to publicise that. It seems quite the opposite. She's keen to make that point that she is a Royal Highness.
One thing is certain. Whether the silence is a strategic play or a golden gag order, it's only amplifying the intrigue. The media's hush isn't shielding the monarchy, it's making the storm louder. And if the crown finally pulls the trigger, it won't just be a symbolic gesture, it'll be a financial and reputational earthquake. For Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, losing their royal titles wouldn't just bruise their ego, it could unravel the entire empire they've built. From blockbuster Netflix deals to million-dollar memoirs, the Sussex brand survives on royal prestige. Strip away the titles, and the shine begins to dull.
Reports have come from the Sussexes that they actually just wanted their kids to have their birthright, as Harry put it. But again, it's Harry's birthright to be a prince, and he's done everything.
The Archewell Foundation, once hailed as a beacon of royal-powered philanthropy, may now be on shaky ground. Without the glow of official titles, its influence could dim fast. Corporate sponsors drawn in by royal allure might quietly step back, unwilling to bet on what's starting to look like a fading brand. And Hollywood, it chases relevance, not relics. Speaking gigs, book deals, podcast contracts, every figure tied to the Sussex name could shrink almost overnight.
To disparage the institution that has given him this birthright. So again, it's very odd. We obviously know that the Sussexes have made a lot of money off their titles, given the fact that they have a Netflix documentary and they had an...
In a world fixated on legacy, perception equals power. In the ruthless realm of celebrity culture, titles aren't mere labels, they're currency. Lose those titles, and Harry and Meghan don't just face fading fame, they risk becoming exactly what they've often criticized. Just another headline, another brand desperately holding onto past glory as the spotlight fades.
now Harry's book Spare, they're very aware that this wouldn't have happened if they weren't members of the royal family and they didn't have these titles. And it's also quite disparaging and insulting because they're effectively prostituting their titles and the royal family to make more money. What is really odd is the fact that they, Harry and Meghan.
Prince Harry now stands not just at a crossroads, but at the edge of a cliff. No longer a working royal, nor simply a global icon. He's a man stripped down to his core. The boy the world mourned as he followed Diana's coffin. The soldier who faced war zones in Afghanistan. The charismatic prince who once embodied a modern, compassionate monarchy. All now confronting the gradual unraveling of his legacy.
Deliberately to set out to hurt, harm, belittle, besmirch the monarch and the wife of the heir to the throne. That's unprecedented. Of course it's damaging, but of course the damaging action comes out of damaged people. The question is, I think, just what's the best way?
This campaign to strip Harry of his titles has moved beyond palace protocol. It's now about justice, reputation, and the steep cost of rebellion. Parliament isn't just discussing anymore, it's taking action. The palace isn't merely observing, it's strategizing. And the public? They've stopped being captivated. They're demanding answers.
Found out that at the time, their children wouldn't be eligible to be prince and princess, although they were forgetting the fact that Princess Royal Anne.
The bridge is burning, the crown is slipping, and the curtain is falling. What was once a fairy tale has darkened into a saga of rebellion and reckoning. The next chapter won't be one of triumph, it will be one of consequence. And as history pens its verdict, one haunting question remains. What becomes of a prince when the palace finally turns its back?